Hello again, friends, and welcome to another segment here on Doc G's Wine and Spirits Review. I'd like to welcome you here on National Pinot Noir Day to my review of some of the Pinot Noir that I have in my collection here. As you can see surrounding me are 6 different bottles and one that we're going to consume at least a little bit while we're having our little chat here. Back in 2021, I did a spot on Pinot Noir because it is one of my favorite wines. And you can go back to look at that one from June of 2021 at DRGLO53 on my YouTube channel, or if you want to climb back through the Facebook archives, you can find it then as well. The spot that I want to do today will be a little bit different than that. I went into detail just on regular Pinot Noirs. But what I wanted to do today was show you the versatility of this wonderful grape. And versatility by the fact that it doesn't only come as a red wine. So, and I did allude to that in the 2021 spot, so that was a while ago, so it's time to refresh our memories and celebrate National Pinot Noir Day. And to do that, I'd like to raise my glass and share with you a little bit of this Pinot Noir Rosé. Oh, fantastic. Let me re-explain. Sparkling Pinot Noir Rosé. So truth in advertising, this is my second take of this clip, and I had this bottle ready, and I put it in the freezer, which I don't recommend you do with bubbly. It's best to put it on ice, but I wanted to get ready for this spot, and I didn't have a bag of ice, so I put it in the freezer, and truth be told, I left it in a little bit too long. So when I was doing my first take of this segment, I opened this and it just exploded. And you can see here that there's quite a bit of wine missing from the bottle. It's in a little puddle here on my table. I unfortunately lost a little bit. So a lesson learned: if you're going to put your champagne or your sparkling in the freezer, make sure you get it out before it gets too cold. It actually will start to get some ice crystals in it. So let me start off then with that one. Cheers and welcome. Let me take another sip to cover up for my silly mistake and tell you about this wine first. So, well, let me talk about Pinot Noir first, and then we'll go through all the wines here on the table. So I'm going to highlight from the post that I put on today. If you remember, I put on it's not me talking, it's just a post of information I found out about Pinot Noir. And basically Pinot Noir is a wine that thrives all over the globe, generally in cooler climates: Burgundy, France, Willamette Valley, Oregon. And I've been there. If you followed my spots, that's why I said we've talked about Pinot Noir throughout the 4 years that I've been doing these spots. I broadcast live, so to speak, from the Willamette Valley last November. Does well there, does well in California, in a number of regions, Santa Barbara, the Sonoma Coast. It does well in New Zealand. It does well in Chile. I actually have one here from Chile, and it also does well in South Africa. I even have one here from Pennsylvania. So if you grow the grapes correctly and you have a great harvest, you can get, and Finger Lakes, I almost forgot, one of my favorite wine regions in the world, also does a very, because it's cool. It's a cool climate area. So I have samples of all of those here, but I'm not going to sample all of these on the table. I still have things to do today. And truth be told, one of the reasons I'm doing this spot is I can't really be out and about too much right now because I'm recovering from COVID. So what better way to spend a little time recuperating from COVID? It wasn't too bad for me. My wife and I both got it. So we're recovering. Everything's good. Just a public service announcement. COVID's out there floating around, so be very careful. Seems to be spiking again. So with that said, Pinot Noir also, let's get back, it's used in a number of variety of wines. So when I did my first spot a couple years ago, it was just about the red Pinot Noir, but it comes as a rosé and it's used as a blending grape in sparklings. That's the only time you generally see Pinot Noir. It's one of those wines that you don't really see blended in its dark form, its red form. Like Cabernet gets blended, Merlot gets blended a lot. There are a lot of red grapes that they use as blends. Pinot Noir is usually one of those varietals that just stands on its own. You can get sparklings from California that have Pinot Noir in it, sparklings from France. When you say Champagne, you're saying there's Pinot Noir in it, unless it's a Blanc de Blanc. And then you can also get champagne or sparklings from New Mexico, and I was there, and I broadcast to you from there as well. So Pinot Noir is all over the globe. It's a very finicky grape, and if you want to learn more about the grape, it was my intent today to go deep into that. But if you read the little post that I put up, it talks about Pinot Noir having softer tannins, higher acidity. It can feature cherry, strawberry, baking spices. In the warmer climates, you get it. It's got mushrooms and violet notes, and it just is a very, very expressive grape. And I can tell you that if we would do a side-by-side tasting here, or at least with the red ones, the still ones, they would all have a little bit of a different profile. And it's not my intent to go in depth to the different profiles from where you grow the grape, other than to say that the cool climate Pinot Noirs tend to be a little more clear in the glass, because they just come out as a different kind of color scheme. They get a little bit heavier in California and in the Willamette Valley. They really are more opaque in color. So with that said, I'd like to take another sip here. Still a little bit very embarrassed by that. That's not something I usually do, but it did not ruin the flavor of this wine. So let me talk now about this one. This is a sparkling Pinot Noir from Elk Cove Vineyards, and we were there when we did our trip to Willamette. I reported to you from there, and this was bottled. This is a vintage, actually. A lot of sparklings are non-vintage. So this is a 2018. They call it their La Bohème Brut Rosé from the Yamhill Carlton AVA in the Willamette Valley. It is a fantastic wine. Great effervescence. It's got that Pinot Noir earthiness about it. It's wonderful. It has lost a little bit of its effervescence due to my mistake. Once you over freeze it, it kind of loses its bubbles, but it's still sparkly and it's still wonderful. So with that said, let me take you around and show you how versatile Pinot Noir is. First of all, I want to talk about, you already know it comes in a sparkling and you already know it comes in a rosé, but it also comes in a still rosé. And this one is also from Elk Cove. But if you go into wherever you shop for wine, if there's rosés on the shelf, there's a good chance one of them is going to be a Pinot Noir rosé. Just read the label. It has a different profile than the other rosés that you'll find, like the Provence rosés and rosés made from different grapes. So this one is from Elk Cove. It is a 2023, and it is a 100% Pinot Noir rosé. And I can tell you, I've had this. It's absolutely fantastic. And anything you see from Elk Cove, buy it. It's probably going to be very good. So that's going to cover the rosé part of Pinot Noir. You know that Pinot Noir can be in a sparkling, it can be in a rosé. So before we move to going around the globe, let me go to the other sparkling that also will have Pinot Noir in it. And that is, and this is the only bottle that I actually have right now in my collection, that is actually French champagne. And it is a vintage. This is actually a 2012 that I was able to get through my searches. And I did the check on the vintage chart that this was got a 98 out of 100 in 2012. And it's still not ready to drink. And it says it's about ready to hit its peak. So guess what? This one's not going to get opened anytime soon. Maybe next year when they put out see if it's at its peak and time to drink. But the point that I want to make, it's not really where it's from or who it's by, is that this wine is champagne. If you say champagne, it just says champagne on the bottle. It means there's Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and probably some Pinot Meunier. Those are the three grapes. Champagne is definitely a blend of wines, unless it says Blanc de Blanc, Blanc de Noir. I've already done a presentation on that. So you can go back and check that as well. But this one has 20% Pinot Noir. So there's Pinot Noir in here. Remember, when you look at a champagne, it does have a little bit of a hue, but remember, grapes bleed clear or a little bit green, or yellow or gold. They don't bleed the color of the skin. That comes from skin contact. So it's not unusual to see, there's actually been somebody that's done a white Pinot Noir. They had some of those in Oregon and they were fantastic. So that covers the first two aspects of Pinot Noir that I wanted to cover with you here today on National Pinot Noir Day. The fact that you can get them in sparklings, champagne, and just plain out rosé sparkling wine that is made with Pinot Noir grapes. This is not the first one I've ever had of this. It's absolutely fantastic. And then of course your still rosés. What I'd like to move to now is we'll set these sparklings aside and the rosé aside and talk about the different regions that I covered in that spot. The first one that I want to cover is, and I will be honest with you today, I don't have a Burgundy. I drank all my Burgundies. We had our annual wine party and they got served at that party. So I don't happen to have any Burgundies, but when you see a red Burgundy on the shelf, it is 99% of the time it's going to be a Pinot Noir. Burgundies also feature Beaujolais wines. They are from Burgundy, but they call them Beaujolais, and they're the Gamay grape. They're similar in Pinot Noir, but again, a totally different grape. So I don't have any of those. If you see a Burgundy and you want to get up into that echelon, they tend to be a little bit higher in terms of cost, but you can do that. But I don't have one of them here today, so I'm going to go to where I do have them from. The first one that I want to share with you is this one. I haven't tried this one yet. It's from Willamette Valley Vineyards. It's from the Willamette Valley, which is a Pinot Noir haven. That's one of the reasons we took our wine group out to that region last year and spent 5 days in the Willamette Valley to discover the wonderful Pinot Noir. The second region that, which you might not know about, this one is from Chile. And this one is from the Maleco Valley in Chile. And if you look on that spot, it says Patagonia, Chile is a spot for good Pinot Noir. I've had other Pinot Noirs from Chile and they are wonderful. And they are also at a good QPR. You can get a good quality price ratio and get a bang for your buck. So that's the one from Chile. One of the other ones that I want to feature is from one of my favorite wineries in the Finger Lakes, Domaine Le Sueur. And this is a Pinot Noir Barrel Select made by them. This is a 2019 vintage, and I'm sure this one's going to age very well. But this is representative of the Finger Lakes style of Pinot Noir, which tends to be a little bit lighter and a little bit different than the West Coast and the French style Pinot Noir. And last but not least, I want to feature one from a local vineyard here. Talked about them before. Maple Springs Vineyards in Bechtelsville, Pennsylvania. Just over here in Berks County. It actually might be Montgomery County. That's really irrelevant. But this is a 2020, and this one has a completely different profile. It's a very, very good grape. I've had it. And unfortunately, Maple Springs has decided to cease operations, so I'm going to hold on to this one a little bit longer, to let it age a little bit, and then there'll be no more Maple Springs Pinot Noir. So there you have it, gang. Happy Pinot Noir Day. I apologize for the little, apologizing to myself mainly for my little faux pas with the letting my bubbly get a little bit too cold. So that's a lesson that you can take with you today as well. And on that note, now it's calmed down. It does have its effervescence. Cheers. Happy Pinot Noir Day. And we'll see you again soon.